Like, I'm a producer that could get $5,000 for a beat, you know what I mean? I'm the kind of producer that, like, you know, you're gonna like sit down, work with, we're gonna actually dig into who you are, everything that you are, and develop something very special for you. You know what I mean? Something that can't be like replicated. I believe the way is to find an artist, attach yourself to them, develop something special, and as they rise, you rise. You know what I'm saying? Like, you become a part of what they are. Which is, if you look at my career, that's all I've ever done. You know, Tech, X, Triz, because I've worked with so many artists that are so opposite of each other. Because XV and Tech N9ne are opposites.
Right.
And so I'm able to develop both of their sounds at the same time, and it'd be two totally different sounds. At the time, sampling was a big part of my sound. You know, I actually got sued twice in 1 week, on a Monday and a Friday, with two different samples. It affected me because, you know, it held my money up for like a while. You know what I mean? I wasn't able to get like royalties and stuff like that. And what I did was I was like, man, samples are a huge part of my sound. I have got to figure out a way to like basically make my own samples. The things I do can't be done with AI because I want the imperfections. The imperfections is the life. Once you polish something and give it, you know, and you perfect it, you bring it into this world, but it's so perfect, it loses the life. I remember X calling me when he was gonna sign the paperwork, you know, and at that time, I knew we shouldn't do the deal. He was on tour, we were in the middle of a tour, we were in New York, and we're getting ready to do a show. And I was like, I'm going home. He's like, you're just gonna go home in the middle of the tour? And I was like, I'm just gonna go home. I just went home.
Is that why you guys split apart?
Kind of. If you want to know the truth about like what happened with like me and XV, you know, is like, I can't.
Fully connected. Hey, real quick, guys, before we get started with the episode, I just want to say thank you for clicking on this video. I've realized the majority of people who watch this podcast haven't yet subscribed to the podcast. So take that time right now to hit that subscribe button and to smash that like button. I really appreciate the support. Now let's get back to the episode. Yeah. Welcome back to the Fully Connected Podcast, your go-to destination for inspirational conversations to help you become your greatest version. I am your host, Chris Jones, clinical therapist and owner of Fully Connected Counseling. Today we got a very special guest. He's a multi-platinum record producer, creating some of the dopest sounds from the underground all the way to the mainstream. He was the in-house producer for Strange Music for about a decade, produced heavily with Brother Lynch, Tech N9ne. He's also the go-to producer for XV, right? He's produced so many tracks from underground legends all the way to iconic mainstream artists, all the way from Eminem, T-Pain, Mac Miller, Snoop Dogg, Wiz Khalifa, Killer Mike, Kendrick Lamar, and even Lil Wayne. Man, so many people. His sound, from flipping samples to analog warm synthesizers, all the way to West Coast classic sounds and even alternative hip hop. He can do it all, man. He can really honestly do it all. It's been a big inspiration for me, and hopefully it's a big inspiration to you, fellow creators and entrepreneurs out there as well. So without further ado, please welcome Mike Summers, formerly known as Seven, to the podcast, man. What's going on?
What up, man? What up?
Definitely, man. So multi-platinum record producer, right? So some of these tracks were on Strange Music, and when you were going under Seven, what was like kind of your main reason why you decided just to go by your government name?
Coming out of the deal was Strange, you know, and just kind of evolving. Kind of felt like coming out of that deal, I just wanted like a fresh start. Yeah. You know?
For sure. And so that's even goes to the project, the Cicada. Yeah. Because those are about like rebirth, right? Is that intentional?
When I did that project, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's what cicadas like. They come out, that's really
that was, you know, that's like an element of it, you know. I always wanted to do like my own project, you know. And actually, when I was on Strange, I did like that version of it. Is actually like the second version of that album, because I I really actually made that album when I was on Strange. But
really?
Yeah. A lot of people don't really know it, but actually Tech's Interfere album became like a lot of those beats were this actually the Cicada album, you know.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, and that's why that's kind of like a little like Easter egg about it is when I drop Cicada, it's with 2 eyes because it's actually like the second version of the album, you know.
Wow.
But nah, you know, I always wanted to do. For years I've thought like if I do my own project, I'm gonna call it Cicada. The sound of like cicadas like in the Midwest. So when I made that album, I was in LA. And
so it sounded like home.
Yeah, like to me, like the sound of cicadas like in the summer like reminded me of the Midwest, like what it just, you know, just growing up in the Midwest, growing up in Kansas City, and just what like summer would feel like, you know. And like as a kid, kind of like that sound of cicadas was really like one of my first like memories of like sound, you know what I'm saying? Sure. So it's
that's
like,
crazy to think about, man, because it is kind of like a relaxing sound until like they pop up on
like
big cicadas.
My youngest son is actually like he's like loves bugs, you know, and so we just when we're here like you know he'll go and just collect all the cicada shells. There was one summer where he had collected like 100 cicada shells, and we just had them outside. And so I'm like, at this point, I'm like just used to cicadas.
Man, the cicada, that's cool, man. I was interested, but yeah, I appreciate you answering that. And so with the Strange music, you know, like, so, you know, for a majority of my life, I would say when I was a kid, man, I wanted to be a music producer. You know, first I was trying to be a rapper, but then I was like, I'm not good at this. And then I wanted to make beats. Which is a difference between making beats and record producer. We'll get into that too. But what was it like being an in-house producer? Because were you were an in-house producer for Strange before you and XV met, or was that?
No. So I had produced Tech before I met XV, but you know, everything that I was like what I did with Tech was actually after I was, you know, that's actually after. It was before Everybody's Nobody, right? Oh yeah, for sure. So, cause actually the first project that me and XV did together was Complex.
Experiment?
No, just the album Complex. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So you guys did that before the mixtapes?
Well, we did that in
06.
So I guess now thinking back to it, yeah, actually the timeline really was like, yeah, I was working on Ever Ready, yeah, before I met X. Now that I'm thinking about it, like, because I started working with Tech on Strange again in like around 2003. So
2003, yeah.
2005 is when I met X. So.
Right, because he said you met him at Guitar Center, and like he stole one of your beats and put it on the radio or something, or
no. That's not what happened.
Was it like it was something like you were like curious to how he got like to the Neptune beats? Or
yeah,
like,
so
that's what it was.
Yeah, the way that we actually the way that we like met, started working together was at a Guitar Center here in Wichita.
Right down on West Douglas.
Yeah, exactly that one. I was in there and I was trading in a keyboard. I was switching out one of my keyboards. I remember I was trying to get a motif. And I can't remember what I was trading. I think I was trading like a Phantom, trying to get a motif because I had just come back from LA. And everyone that I was working with there was like using a very particular kind of setup. They were using an MPC 4000 with the motif, and so I wanted to have that same kind of setup so I could be like compatible with everyone. And so I was in there making the trade, and I was standing in line, and he was behind me,
right?
And he noticed the tattoo on the back of my neck, which is a Roman numeral 7, and he just asked me if I was 7, and he gave me, it would have been, what would it?
The definition?
Nah, it wasn't definition. I can't remember exactly what it was. So it was volume 3 of one of like I
Royalty City First Drive?
Maybe it was that.
If this is 2003, then this has to be Royalty City days.
So I'm like, I know what the cover looks like. I'll never forget it. Like in my mind, like it's like a red cover, and I remember being like, because I like got demos from people like all the time, and
did you listen to it?
Yeah, so that's what really it caught me off guard for real, because I listened to it at home. And it was crazy, because on top of him being like really dope already, he had like production from like all like everyone, it's crazy, man. And he had drops from big artists on it,
The Game,
the Game, like all.
I remember that's how I got into it. I was like, how is he doing this?
I was like confused, you know what I mean?
But I was like AI back then, so it was real.
It was. I was just like, what is going on? Because I never saw anything like that in Wichita before.
No,
you know what I mean? Like that was like, and the other thing too that was really big about it was, I was such a big part of like the Kansas City sound, which is a very specific type of sound. Actually, like a sound that's really inspired like by the Bay. And and I really wanted, because Kansas City is kind of like a sister city to the Bay in a way, you know what I mean? Like a lot of those artists, especially back in the 90s, were like very connected. And so the sound of Kansas City back in like 1997, 1998, 1999 was like very kind of like
West Coast,
at least to me, like very like actually specifically like Bay Area inspired, so like Mac Dre and all of that. And so that was really like a big part of my sound, but what X was doing was like, I wanted to find an artist where I could like take samples and, around that time, 2004 and 2005 was like after Kanye put out like College Dropout. And I was like, I started to really study that sound, but I was like, where will I ever find an artist
who wants to rap over sample beats?
Yeah, that could like really, could bring that sound to life for me. Like, where will I find the artist at that? I would have never imagined that I'd find it like in the Midwest, even. So
for sure, like probably East Coast.
Yeah, and so when I met X and I listened to that, I was like, this could be it. You know what I mean? On top of everything else, he was just like, to me, like Lupe Fiasco level, I was like, he was like the best, you know what I mean? So I never thought I would encounter anyone.
No, for sure, man, because, like people who know me, they know that, I'm a big fan of you guys, obviously just production and everything, because you had so many tracks like from the Complex Experiment, the whole deal, man, so many different things, man. But he said that you have the same birthday as his grandma.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So like, he's big in all the
we talk
connections. So it's just like maybe this was, I don't know, the stars aligned.
When is your birthday?
26 June. So I'm Cancer.
You're a Cancer too? Oh, okay. That makes sense.
I really wasn't into that much, but he really kind of brought that to me.
We've been talking about it for years. Now when we have conversations, we base decisions off of that. Literally, we'll be like, nah, that's not gonna work because this person's like doesn't mix with that person and that person, and then we'll be like, this is definitely, everything is based off that.
Man, for sure, because he talked about how like Libras helped his career, like from Neo to Lil Wayne. Well, I think Lil Wayne's a Sag, but speaking of Lil Wayne though, because when you produced that track, it was pretty much Lil Wayne sent you guys like acapellas.
Kind of. It was different than that.
Okay.
Was that what X told you?
I'm trying to remember the story because XV said he knew like a girl. Maybe you'd be able to tell the story.
Yeah, all right. So let me. I'll put the pieces together. If you want me to tell the full thing of what happened from point A to point B.
Let's do that.
Because it's an interesting story. Right, please. So Guitar Center, and I'll go back to that because I want to get to because the Lil Wayne song is what like
the blog era
started everything for us. And it's a crazy idea, what we did at the time. But
what's the name of the song again? I Want You Back.
Something like that. Yeah, I can't even remember. God, that was so long ago.
I can't remember either.
2006. I can't remember 2007. But it was almost 20 years ago. But after Guitar Center, I remember I told X to come through to my studio. Mm-hmm. I was working like a beat for Twista at the time, and the first beat that I gave him was the song that actually became X to the V on Complex.
Right.
And that, so, because it was like super like Just Blaze inspired, like it had like rock, like a rock sample in it, like something that like, you know, I wouldn't have even known who to give that beat to. And then I had another one that I was giving to Twista, but he really wanted it, like when he came over. And I was like, you can take it home, you know, and like record to it, you know, whatever. But like, I'm still gonna like give it to Twista though, you know. Sure. But whatever, you know. But what he sent back to me was the song is "Give You Everything."
Oh yeah, I remember.
So when
we actually bought the beat on Kingsman Production.
Okay,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
I give you everything. Who was the sample?
Oh, I can't remember, but I remember when I did it, like
very Kanye-ish twisted vibes.
Totally. That was, you know, I was like, man, this. So I told him he could use it, you know, and he sent me back X to the V, which was like, I was like, this is like out of here, you know. And then he sent me Give You Everything, and I was like, this is yours now, basically. You know what I mean? Like, it's yours. So and that was he had the album Complex kind of like sort of mapped out at the time. And I was like, you know, let me take over with it. Like, let me go, like, cause you know, X like did everything, like production, graphics, videos, everything.
Man, everything.
And everything that he did was like top tier. You know, one of the reasons why I was like so like interested in working with him was because I hadn't met a lot of people that were like me, you know what I mean? That like just did everything. And I knew that was like, you know, if you can understand like every area of like what it takes to like, you know, like build an album basically, you know, from the ground up and not need anyone, you could be a force. And I was like, man, me and him together could be like a force, you know? So, literally. But I told him like, you know, I remember being like, and his production's crazy. I was like, on top of that, on top of everything, it's not even like, he's not really like, to me, like lacking in any area. But I was like, you should let me, for you, like help produce you. You know what I'm saying? So you could focus on being more of an artist. Cause I was like, you know, I don't know if you give yourself enough credit for like actually how good of an actual artist you are. You know what I'm saying? Because you are actually such a good artist. And so that's what I wanted to do. You know, I was like, let me like, you know, take some of these beats on Complex and just kind of like add co-production to them. Let's add some new songs on it. X to the V, Give You Everything. If you look at that album, you know, it's kind of like half and half. Kind of everything, half him, half me. There was like a few other producers in there, you know.
And that's the one with the black hoodie, right?
It is,
the actual Complex,
Yeah, and there's like a DVD in it that shows like the making of it and everything.
Were the Complex Experiment mixtapes to lead up to that?
So when we worked on that was the thing. So when we were working on Complex, it was like a tedious process. You know, we were coming up to Kansas City a lot, like getting it mixed up here. You know, we got it mastered in New York with Tony Dossi. We were like going through this massive like, you know, undertaking, the stages of producing that album. Cause I pretty much like took it and was like, okay, let's now like really polish it, like try to get it to the next level. While we were doing that, we were just like working. I was like, we should do something to fill the time, you know? So that's where Complex Experiments came from. We just, cause those were like raw, not mixed, not mastered, it was just like, just us just working. And so that's when we really, to be honest with you, like the Complex Experiments started to open up the doorway to being like, oh, I see how to develop his sound. Because Complex was cool, but it really wasn't his sound. It wasn't what it was supposed to be. It was like really inspired by
a lot of Jay-Z, kind of like even some of those beats like that, you know, Kansas Boy and some of the other tracks. All of them,
they were like inspired by things, but it wasn't like his sound yet, you know, and I knew like he needed a sound, which is like, you know, kind of, we could, you know, go into like what I did with Tech too. Cause like a big thing for me is like when I work with artists, if I'm going to be heavily involved with them, like it's important to have a signature sound, you know? And so, when we were working on Complex, I was like, I knew they were like good songs, but it wasn't like a signature sound. But
Yeah,
when we
absolutely.
did Complex Experiments,
You started to find it, man. Like from the Bobby Womack sample.
yeah, all
like all of it. It's just it was. To be honest with you, bro, like I like the Complex Experience more than the album.
Exactly. So
like,
that was
it was just like I was like, whoa, like these are like even Complex Experiment 3. I think you had a track, you had a verse or something.
I did, yeah.
On the Flyboy.
Oh yeah, that one, yeah.
The Fresh to Death was something. What was that track? Y'all did a video to it, right?
Oh yeah,
man, very serious.
It wasn't that song. That song had Stick Figure on it.
Okay, yeah.
But I can't remember. The Fresh song, like we stay fresh. Like I just can't remember exactly.
Yeah,
we did the video with the Lamborghini and the shoe store and everything in Kansas City. But that when we started working on that, and that actually came Complex Experiment 2 and 3 kind of came like a little bit like later. But Complex Experiment Volume 1 was what we worked on while we were trying to finish Complex, and that's when we really developed the sound. But you know, we put Complex out and we put a lot into it, even financially and everything. And, you know, it didn't do like what
it was supposed to do.
Like thought it would do, you know, but we slowly started to realize like Complex Experiment was really more of, we're starting to like carve out the sound, you know?
The Eminem drop wasn't a real drop, was it? Or was that a sample? Like, cause remember you guys would use that tag?
Oh, I think that was just
okay. Because at first I'm like, man, these guys are getting like everybody.
No, he had a way. Like that's what I was saying was when he gave me the demo, you know, like a Guitar Center. I was just like, I remember calling him. I'll never forget. I was calling him like, yo, this is like on top of the project just being dope. I was like, you got to tell me how you're doing this though. Like I got to understand like how you
getting Pharrell and Kanye beats.
How you're doing that, you know. He didn't really tell me like at first, but I was just like, he kept me like, you know, and just like, you know, but I was like, whatever it is, we should definitely work, you know, you know, like, so Complex Experiment really started to be like more of the sound, and it wasn't quite the sound because we didn't get the sound down until we did Square in the Circle.
Ooh.
But Square in the Circle was like, what happened was after we did Complex, we were like, you know, it was like kind of like a burnout for real, you know?
I could see that for sure.
Because, and I was like, at that point, I was kind of like, you know, what do we do? Because that sound was not, I knew it wasn't different enough to like really like, you know, like, to really go. And I remember we had like a year where we didn't really do too much, but I remember being like, let's work on something. But this time, I remember we were listening to a lot of like indie rock and a lot of these really like
the alternative, like
we really got
into kind of stuff. Like, man,
we got into that for a year, but we weren't really like making music. We were just like listening to that kind of like playing video games and just
y'all were just being yourself.
Yeah, we were just like playing video games and like listening to like lots of like indie, obscure, like this is kind of like. This was on the cusp of indie music sort of like becoming it's a genre, you know what I mean? Because back then it was kind of like
crazy to think.
Yeah, and so and we were doing like you know, I noticed like he did. I don't know if you remember when he flipped the Smashing Pumpkins song, you know, 1979. We did 1997 with it. When he sent me that, I was like,
that was hard.
Wait a minute.
So he did that beat?
No, that's a Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh yeah, he just rapped over it.
Yeah.
He just looped the
But hearing him like on that kind of tempo and that kind of vibe, I was like, that's the Pixies. Yeah, that's when I realized like, oh, I basically said, let's make an album, but like it can be anything. Because when we made Complex and even Complex Experiment, I was very, very like, these are the boundaries of what the sound can be. I was like, we can't do this kind of song. We can't do that kind of song. We can't do these kind of songs because it has to fit. And I was like, with Square in the Circle, it wasn't Square in the Circle yet. I was just like, look, we are different. You know what I'm saying? We like are video game, comic book nerds. Like we're different. I was like, let's magnify that times 10,000. Let's just be that. Because if it's not going to work, we might as well just like make the music that we want to make and it not work. Because Complex didn't work. I mean, Complex Experiment, nothing was like just going crazy. But I was like, if we're going to do that, we might as well just like fail and make music. At least it is like exactly what we want to make.
It definitely worked. And like I've always tell people, like, you know, I would say like you guys were a big inspiration for me to even start listening to other genres of music, because like my homie Bryce, like he would listen to NERD and I was like, this is weird.
Yeah,
like
that was
I was like, who is this? And then he told me Pharrell was on it, and that was like Pharrell and you guys were like kind of a bridge of like, this is cool to like listen to, like, you know, Zoot Woman or something, or whatever it might be. You know what I mean? Like even like a lot of the, you know, Kid with the Green Backpack, kind of their actual album.
So yeah, again, that's the story too. But like,
we got to figure out what happened.
I can tell you, have you heard the album?
Oh yeah, Perfect Approach. Like,
okay, so
like, you can't get that on streaming.
No, I mean, I'll tell you that too. But like, all right, so so what happened exactly was, in that time where we were like video games and like indie music, we were like really into NERD.
Right.
And at the time, Kanye was doing the Glow in the Dark tour. And I was like, let's go to the Glow in the Dark tour. And so we got front row tickets in LA, right? So we flew out and just went and saw like front row. That tour was, you know, Kanye, Lupe, NERD, and Rihanna. So it was like insane. Almost like
Kanye, Lupe, NERD, and Rihanna.
Yeah. And so we were front row at that in LA, which was one of the, you know, the craziest shows. So when we went to that, that's when we came back home and we were just inspired. And we were like, that's when we were like, let's make Square in the Circle, because it was like just apparent that we should do whatever we want to do.
This is after 40 days, 40 nights?
It was before 40 days, 40 nights. Square in the Circle was the thing, was actually Square in the Circle kind of, that came before 40 days and 40 nights.
So you guys have like a way of like making the project and then making like these like experiment kind of mixtape projects.
Yeah, we wanted everything, and that was like Everybody's cool. Nobody and Kid with the Green Backpack go together. Like it's its own story also, and I'll tell you how that happened also. But at the time, it was like Square in the Circle was which we had the Lil Wayne song on. So blogs were just starting to like take shape. We were like, man, being kind of in Wichita, like this, and we were really inspired by like the cool kids and like this era.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I was like, like the blogs made it like possible for us to basically be grouped together with everybody doing everything without us having to be, you know, from anywhere else, you know. So
or signed too. Exactly.
Yeah. So we had this idea when we were working on Square in the Circle, because at the time we just, you know, like we didn't give a fuck like about it was just like whatever we want to make, let's just make it, you know, whatever, however we felt like being creative, let's just be creative without any boundaries, like at the time, which is what that actually doing Square in the Circle taught me about how it taught me about how to like approach, like how to like lead artists like on albums, you know what I mean? Because it totally opened up my mind to how to like truly make something different and create a sound for an artist, you know, because before Square in the Circle, I would approach albums in such a like a formatted way, you know. There was so many like boundaries because I felt like things had to be a certain kind of way. But Square in the Circle taught me that, you know, when you let go of the limitations is when like greatness can happen.
Do you remember the sample to the Please Forgive Me? Do you remember?
I do, yeah.
Is that like a Flaming Lips?
It is. It is. So Flaming Lips was like something we were listening to all the time.
So a lot of Flaming Lips.
Yeah. So a lot of this, we sampled a lot of Flaming Lips.
Yeah, that one is.
So
it's crazy.
So when we were working on that album, like we had this idea. We were like, because, you know, X was always really good about finding unreleased songs. You know, at the time, this was like the LimeWire era.
Hacking.
You know?
He was a hacker, he said.
Yeah, for real. So, you know, he had everything before it came out. He had these Lil Wayne songs that were like not released.
Oh, okay, so we're going back to the Lil Wayne, like how this started.
That was on Square in the Circle, you know. So
right. It was, because it wasn't on Everybody's Nobody.
No. Yeah,
the Lil Wayne track was on
Square in the Circle. Yeah. So, and that was the entrance to everything, because I was like, how are we going to get on the blogs? How are we going to like get some like real attention? And so we basically have the idea to be like, let's take an unreleased Lil Wayne song
That he sent you guys. Or his girl, or it was something.
I don't know how we have it for real, but he
said a story, and I don't know exactly, but I can't remember all the way off the top. But he said something that's back then he knew, I guess, one of the same girls Lil Wayne knew, and he asked the girl like, "Hey, can you just ask Lil Wayne?" I
don't know how he had it, but he just had it in that way that he had everything on the royalty mixtape. Right. I don't know how. It's just like you've got it. And it's not.
You got it.
Yeah, that's the song. Actually, yeah, that's crazy. So
you got it. That's it.
Yeah. So
that's funny.
You got. So he had that, and he sent that to me, and I was like, that kind of had like the sounds and the colors, like the beat, and of like what we were kind of doing, you know. So I was like, let me add production to this, and you just do a verse to it. You know, we chopped the beat in a way that. He could have an open verse on it.
That's crazy.
I added stuff to it. We basically sent that to the blogs, and that got us in.
So did you do the bass line, or was that already on there? The dun dun dun.
Maybe I like enhanced it. Maybe I added like synths to it and stuff, you know. So I might have.
Because it just sounded.
Yeah, it sounds like something that I would do, you know.
Right.
But
so it just blended in like perfect.
Yeah, because it was already a beat that was kind of like our sound, you know.
Yeah,
So I just added to it, and then we sent that to all the blogs, and that went. They worked because we had Lil Wayne on it. But did
Lil Wayne ever like say anything? Was he kind of like, hey, like I didn't give you guys permission?
I don't even know if he knows it exists now, you know. but yeah, that's what like opened the door to us on blogs, you know. So and everybody posted it, and then Square in the Circle went crazy because then we got that like on most blogs. We put that song out before Square in the Circle came out, kind of like as a leak, you know, like as a drop.
Was it all intentional?
All intentional, yeah. And then when we dropped Square in the Circle,
that's dope.
It was everywhere. It went on all the blogs and everything, and then that opened up the door to like, okay, I know what to do with the sound now with me and XV. You know,
wow. So is that when you guys realized like, wow, that we could really do something here? Like we have a sound now.
100%. Yeah, that was that, and we built Square in the Circle was the beginning of everything. That's what started Kid with the Green Backpack and Everybody's crazy. Nobody, because that's like a funny story too.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I'll tell you about that. So, because after Square in the Circle,
and by the way, not to cut you off, like, were you working with Tech during all this time? Yeah. Was he like envious of like you working with XV? Like, was that kind of what started?
No, nothing like that.
Or something,
no. It was just two separate things that were kind of happening. You know, it was like
I don't know if it's like almost like, hey, you can't produce for anybody else. You're my producer.
No. At the time that this was happening, I wasn't an in-house producer on Strange. I was just like Tech's producer. You know what I mean? But I wasn't signed to the label or anything. You know, so. Which, you know, we can come back to Come Gangster and like how that started, but like it's a similar. It's a different story, but similar in the way that I was learning as a producer how to create sounds for artists. You know, that's like a signature type of sound. And but basically after Square in the Circle, we had a sound, and I was like, now we can go so far into this weird. Sound.
Just alternative.
Yeah.
What would you call it? What would it be like?
I don't know, because it was really inspired by kind of a combination of like the 80s and indie music.
It's like that pink, purple.
Yeah, like super colorful. Everything that we did was like a rainbow of like just every color. And which is funny because then what I was doing with Tech was like all the opposite, you know what I mean, in a way. So
it's still colorful, but it dark.
It's dark, yeah, exactly. So especially at that time. But so they were totally separate things. They didn't even like commingle for real. It was like almost like two totally different like identities for me until like I started to get bigger as a producer and people started like put it all together. But after Square in the Circle, I was like, oh man, we need to go so crazy with this sound that we're building, and we made Kid with the Green Backpack. But while we were making Kid with the Green Backpack, we were like, well, let's stick with this formula. Let's make a mixtape while we're working on this album, because this album is such an undertaking of like, I mean, I hired full orchestras for A Kid with the Green Backpack, like full string sections, choirs. I went crazy with what we were doing with that album.
What track had the strings on it?
Almost every song that you hear strings on it is real strings, you know, like Mama I'm Sick, you know. There's even all of that was a sample, but I took the sample out and had it actual strings. You know what I'm saying? So real
so
strings
then you can
played
actually, you don't have to worry about clearing it.
I mean, it's still an interpolation, but you know, we interpolated with an actual like string section.
So then you don't have to worry about the sample clearing after that. After you make
the album never came out, so we never really actually went down the rabbit hole trying to get it cleared. But what did happen at the time was we were like, well, in between this album being created, let's make Everybody's Nobody, which was nothing but throwaway songs like, you know, that's Mirror's Edge, that's Fall Out the Sky, that's Gobstopper with Wiz, that's like all the song. That's Awesome. We made Awesome on Everybody's Nobody. So, and Awesome was like, when we made Awesome, we were like, we almost threw that away. Like that was like a throwaway.
So
everything on every song on Everybody's Nobody was nothing but a throwaway, something that wasn't good enough for for Kid with the Green Backpack. But what happened was X got management, you know, in New York. He started having like real management deal. It was with like Charles Hamilton's managers and
Chitty Bang and everybody.
Yeah, all that. And what happened is we went to Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers was like, Kid with the Green Backpack is no good. Everybody's Nobody is what we want.
Oh, so let me get this straight. So you're saying Everybody's No, and I appreciate you sharing all this, but like Everybody's Nobody was pretty much a throwaway.
It was a mixtape
throwaway from the Kid with the Green Backpack.
Yeah, stuff that we knew wasn't good enough to be on Kid with the Green Backpack. But what, you know.
But what they like the Warner Bros. Records, they were interested with the mixtape, and so, you guys said, hey, let's.
I wanted to push that. The album was like, I mean, we spent like $25,000 on the album at this point. You know,
you
like,
guys played the album. You guys played the album for Todd Moskowitz.
Of course,
what did he think?
He said that's not it. He said Everybody's Nobody. He said, you know what I mean? That's what we want, you know. And everybody, you know, I remember
that's crazy.
We had the A&R, his, you know, X's A&Rs at Warner Brothers, and I was like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. It was like a battle, you know. I was like, this, you don't even understand like our sound, you know. They had us trying to do like all kinds of crazy things. But the thing that was most important from it was that Everybody's Nobody was actually a sound of its own. Even though it was like throwaway songs, they actually were better songs than Kid with the Green Backpack. Even though Kid with the Green Backpack is like, it's the most creative project outside of Square in the Circle.
Yeah, like that one is polished, you know, and it doesn't make any sense to me because like they wanted him to be like kind of like this Kid Cudi sound, and I feel like the Kid with the Green Backpack would be more of that than Everybody's Nobody. You know,
one thing about Kid with the Green Backpack is like, and maybe we'll put it on streaming, you know, because it exists. Everybody always wondered. I mean, a lot of people actually heard it.
I didn't know if you were able to. I thought he was signed when you guys made that.
No, we still own. Nobody did anything with it. We trashed it. We just threw it away.
I got to put it on streaming.
And we were kind of so like, nobody liked it, you know. So everybody was so excited about Everybody's Nobody. So everybody's so excited about like Mirror's Edge specifically and Awesome. And these songs, Fall Out the Sky.
And that was inspired by the game, right?
Because at the time we were like playing Mirror's Edge, and I mean that beat was not, but like the Mirror's Edge beat was like something that I like typically wouldn't even like let see the light of day because it wasn't, you know what I mean? Like it was nowhere near finished, but it was just something that I had thrown away, and we made that, and it was just part of that. But it just goes to show that like sometimes, to be honest with you, like as a producer, you know, you can do too much, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's one of the things that I learned in that process, you know, was like, you know, a good song is just a good song. It doesn't have to be like overly produced, you know, because Kid with the Green Backpack is undeniably overproduced, you know, like it's just too much, you know. It's like, okay, it's not enough for like, it's like Kid with the Green Backpack is for like the core XV fan, but not the rest of the world. You know, Everybody's Nobody. Man,
I disagree, man. I think that that Kid with the Green Backpack. I think that because my first time actually hearing the whole thing was like 2021. Like when I went to XV's house and I heard some of the tracks, like the Losing the Signal and like stuff on the Cluniverse, but you know, and so then it kind of leads me to the question too that I was just like always like I didn't know really what happened until 2021 when kind of XV told me the story, but it sounded like almost like Warner, like you guys thought maybe like, okay, if XV gets signed, I'm gonna get signed too, like kind of like Chitty Bang, but they didn't want to sign you from what I'm remembering.
Yeah,
so like what happened? Is that why you guys split apart?
Kind of. It's a complex story, but
complex.
It is for real. Like, so
yeah, whatever you feel comfortable sharing, man. Because it was really because I liked Awesome Sound, but for a while, it was just like, where's 7 at? Like, I'm like,
awesome. I mean, Awesome Sound. Like, as far as like our sound, you know, like the XV sound. I mean, he was like next to me, like the best at it. You know what I mean? Like, you would have sworn it was like produced by me. It was so. It was
good, like he came off the bench.
He was,
and then
really
like you
good,
were like injured. That's how I looked at it. Like,
there was things that like, I mean, to me, I don't know. To me, there's things that like Awesome Sound did that was like my sound, but did it like better than me. You know what I'm saying? Crazy. Like on Popular Culture. So I remember hearing Popular Culture. I'll tell you the story about that too. But no, really, what happened? The Warner Brothers thing was very overwhelming for us because like you got to think like when I met X in 2005.
Man,
when we did Complex, I'm saying like when I sent him X to the V and Give You Everything, I told him I'm going to get you a deal. Like we're going to get a deal, a major deal. So this is before like, this is when people still are getting deals, you know, like this is before like independent, you know, like that started like being an independent artist started to take over, you know? So I was like, you are going to be the first artist from this area to get a major deal. I was like, that's what we're going to do. We're not going to stop until we get that deal. But because like where we're from, you know, we're not exposed to the same kinds of things that happen out there. There's nobody here that has ever had a major deal before, right? Nobody. So we hadn't had experience with dealing with, you know, managers and A&Rs and labels and the whole thing that comes with that.
It's a headache.
Yeah, and I remember DJ Enough at Hot 97 in New York had
he played the Mirror's Edge.
I'm sure X told you that story, you know, and we were in New York when it got played on Hot 97 for the first time, just in traffic. It was like surreal, you know, for that to happen. But that was the beginning of like us involving a lot of people like in the circle. You know what I'm saying? It was like now he had a whole machine. And at the time, I thought about things differently than I do now. You know, at the time, I felt like insecure about people being involved. I felt insecure about other producers coming along. I felt insecure about him having an A&R and managers and me not having those things. And I wanted those things. I was like, you know, I want a manager, you know, not even at the time, not even understanding why, you know, I just knew that like things were like going and going so fast, you know, like sitting down in Todd Moskowitz's office, you know, things were, and that just like things are just happening every day so fast. And I'm like, I don't have any of these things, you know, I don't even have an attorney or anything. And I wanted those things. And I remember like no one really wanted to take me on because I think they were just like really focused on developing XV like as an artist. And they weren't wrong for that. That was right. I was wrong. You know, I was wrong in the way that I was thinking. But it did make me like insecure and it made me be like, you know, so and one thing that was happening inside everything was all of these A&Rs were like really pushing him to make like songs that aren't things that we would make. You know what I mean?
Like trap song, the Trey the Truth track.
All of that. And it was getting really like, to me, I was like, this isn't the sound, you know, like, you know, the thing that they were most interested in was Awesome. And I'm like, you know, Awesome. That's our sound
track, but it was the song. Yeah.
But these songs, you know, that they're pitching to us, it's not even our sound, you know. It started to push me further and further away.
It's like the Pharrell movie.
I haven't even seen it, but yeah,
I
haven't seen it. The Lego, I haven't seen it yet, but yeah, I already know. I need to see that
because it's literally everything you're saying. It's just like I'm picturing that movie because, yeah, wow.
It started to make me feel. The way I always explain it is like I felt like I built a house, right? Like I felt like I built a home to live in from the ground up. And now all of a sudden, all these other people moved in, and I don't have space anymore. Like they took over my bedroom. Like I don't even have like. And to be honest with you, a lot of it was really in my head.
Man,
you know what I mean? Like it really wasn't what I was telling myself. But that's the way that at the time it felt. I mean, this is 15 years
because
ago.
it's still like I think a lot of the times like society or just the world don't see how big influence like producers have. Like even like there would be no idea of even going to the club if there weren't producers,
especially at that time. Yeah, so at that time, that was before. Like now, producers are really given much more of a spotlight. You know what I mean? But at that time, it was like
it wasn't.
At that time, it was like, let's just get records. We need hits. We need to get records. So it was like, we don't care where the hits come from. We just need them from somewhere. It was like Warner Brothers was desperate to get a hit because we needed a follow up for Awesome. And and Awesome got on NBA 2K and all that, and it started to become a monster. And I already knew, like, I remember they told us they're going to give us an EP deal, which is a kiss of death for a label at the time. You get an EP deal, that means that they're trying to test the waters to see if any other song can go before they put an album out. When they said that they were going to give us the EP deal with Awesome, in my mind, I was like, it's over with. You know what I mean? I remember.
How did you know that then?
Because of what had happened before that. So if you want to know the truth about like what happened with like me and XV, you know, is like I can't like, I'm not going to try to say like what was in his head at the time. You know what I mean? I don't want to do that. I can only say like what was in my head at the time. And for me, if I could go back in time and do things differently, I would, because I just thought I like had a different vision then than I'm saying like the way that I viewed everything was different than I view it now. You know, instead of looking at things like opportunities, I viewed them like from an insecure place. You know what I mean? I was just like territorial. You know what I mean? I was just like, I built this and
this is mine. And
which I shouldn't have looked at it like that.
It's hard not to though, man.
It's hard not to, but
putting all that work in there. Like,
yeah, but like, you know, I mean, like we're sitting with Just Blaze every day. You know what I mean? I'm like
that was an everyday thing.
I mean, not every day, but a lot. He was executive producing the album, you know, and so
for Kid with the Green Backpack.
Yeah, that was the album that we were. So Kid with the Green Backpack, the version you heard, was our version of it that we pitched to Warner Brothers. But once we got signed, we started on the version, like the new version of Kid with the Green Backpack with Just Blaze,
which became into Zero Heroes.
Some of the songs, yeah.
Because I remember seeing that video and like you and XV are in the studio with Just Blaze, and like Just Blaze is kind of like. Yeah, would add like less reverb.
Exactly.
And I feel like it was kind of like I thought it sounded good with the reverb, but I mean I see what he was saying, like as far as
he was
like
right. He
like
yeah, so
recording on live stage.
100%. Yeah. So but you know, for me, like I was like, no, these are things that I created with the vision of our sound, and I didn't want to let anyone else into our world. And so as things happened, like what I wanted to have happen, let me put it like this. But when we were trying to get the deal, like I told you, I was like, I'm going to get you a deal. Like, I'm going to help you get a major deal. And by the time the Warner Brothers offer came, it had taken so long. Like, so many projects had like transpired and years have went by. And now we're here with like a deal. You know what I mean? Like a real deal. This is actually a real deal. And, but so much time had went by that we had already started to move into a phase of like artists staying independent. Like 360 deals were starting to become a thing, and we were like not going to get a good deal. There was no way we were going to get a good deal at the time because labels were trying to stay alive. You know what I mean? So they were only doing 360 deals with artists.
Was that what the deal was?
Yeah, for sure. And it wasn't even that good of a deal, you know. But it was like. I mean, it was a big deal to us
because that's what the whole objective was.
Yeah, it was the whole objective, and it was big to have that happen as an artist from Wichita. You know what I'm saying? And so I remember X calling me when he was going to sign the paperwork. You know, and at that time I knew we shouldn't do the deal. But we had really actually even like kind of as friends, like you know, because we were like best friends.
No, for
this
sure.
is my best friend in the whole world. We had moved away like because he started touring a lot. I didn't want to be on the tours anymore.
Because of family and stuff?
Partially, I felt like not important, even though I was, but it was me being in my own head. You know, things like I had a lot of like growth that needed to happen for me, and things that happened so fast. I hadn't grown, but
yeah.
I also, we never had time to have those conversations. We never had time for me and him to sit down and him be like, you're important, you know what I mean? Which is, you know, it sounds dumb, but it's like, I guess at the time, it's kind of like what I guess I needed to hear or whatever. But things were happening fast, you know? And so we moved apart. And when he was going to New York to do the deal, I wanted to tell him, he called me and he said, so this is it. I'm going to sign the deal. What should I do? I remember thinking to myself, I know what I want to tell him. But what I told him was like, you should sign the deal because you already have your mind made up no matter what I say at this point. And that's true. If you know X, he's when he has his mind made up, he has his mind made up. You know what I mean? And it's just, that's the way, that's one of the reasons why I started working with him in the first place, is because he has such a mind of independence. You know what I mean? Like, to me, I don't want to work with artists that like are like, I have to drive the train, and when the train stops moving, they stop moving too. I don't want to work with, I want to be like, I want to know that I can like get off for a couple days, like,
no, for sure,
and it keeps moving. And I knew he would be the kind of artist that no matter where I was at or what I would go through, he was such a force that things would still like move without me. And I'm like, that's the kind of machine I want to be a part of.
No, for sure.
And so I wanted to tell him on that call, don't do it. But I said, do it because you have your mind made up. So he did it. It's neither here nor there, because like, I believe that everything happens as it's meant to happen. But when that happened, I was like, I'm going to find more of a home with Strange. You know what I mean? I was like, I had already produced so much for Tech, you know, I mean, I produced Tech like on a daily basis. But I was like, let me try to like really level it up though. I was like, you know, that's when I had the idea to be an in-house producer with Strange.
And so you say you're going to find more home with Strange just because you felt more like kind of accepted in
because I wanted to feel like I wanted to have security, because at that point I was like, I don't have security. But like I said, it was me being me just being in a place where I had a lot of like growing to do. But that's what happened, you know. And I remember like a year went by and Warner didn't even know that I wasn't in the picture anymore. And then one day they kind of freaked out because they were like, where's 7? And that's when X told them, I haven't even talked to him in like a year, and they like freaked out. But see, I didn't think I thought they wanted to replace me at the time. You know what I mean? So but you know what I mean? I just didn't feel, but.
So did they say where's 7 when like Popular Culture was coming out, or like?
I don't really know exactly when, because at the time, like I was so disconnected, you know. It was like kind of like the last thing that we did was Zero Heroes, you know. And Zero Heroes was like songs that we had worked on when we were making Kid with the Green Backpack on Warner Brothers. But Warner Brothers, like I said, the EP happened, then they weren't wanting to put out the album. Yeah. Things started to become like more of a getting shelved type of situation. And then those songs, which were really good songs, because Zero Heroes is the best project to me that we did.
No, for sure.
Those songs they were actually Kid with the Green Backpack songs, but they just became Zero Heroes. It was like another mixtape, you know. And at that time, that was like the last thing that I did before we really stopped working together, you know. And I was like, perfect, because now he's never going to be able to make anything like this again. Then makes fucking Popular Culture, and I listen to that shit and I'm like, he doesn't need me, because this shit is fucking crazy.
It's like Tom Brady, like
no, exactly. Like I'm like let someone else try to like have my seat or whatever, and then if somebody came along, like I'm gonna take that fucking seat. That's, you know what I mean?
But this is like you said, the independence.
Yeah. And so,
but we were missed on Popular Culture. People were like, "Man, where's 7?" I know, like
without a doubt. But I just remember listening
people
to
asking
it.
Me, I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know
where he's at. And then what about, because Vizzy Zone, was that before Zero Heroes?
Oh yeah, that was the second thing that we did. That's what we were like. Yeah. That was when we did that after Everybody's Nobody, and after we had scrapped Kid with the Green Backpack, and it was like, okay, let's follow up Everybody's Nobody. Vizzy Zone was a hard project to make.
I liked it, but there was like a version that was mixed and mastered, and I liked the original one better.
The mixed and mastered, the one that was re-released
with DJ Who Kid or somebody was on there?
We basically put it out with like a DJ cosign first, you know, like we did with DJ Enough on Everybody's Nobody, and then we kind of did the same thing.
It's smart though to have somebody
at the time, because if you got a DJ cosign, it would go on all the blogs,
right?
But Vizzy Zone was a hard project to make, the hardest project to make. I don't like that album.
Was it an album or a mixtape?
Mixtape. Yeah, I mean, you know.
Was it just like kind of like the Flying V track, or what? Was there certain beats you just didn't like? Or?
I mean, I liked it. Like, I liked it at the time, but I felt forced to make the project. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like
Warner or
by myself. Like, I felt like I was like trying to chase that album was a learning lesson too, because that mixtape, I was trying to meet an expectation of everybody's nobody.
Yep.
And after Busy Zone, I told X, like, everything that we do from here on out, like, pretend like we've never done anything ever again. Like, don't compare it to anything.
Yeah.
Even if the sounds evolve, I was like, look at like Outkast. I remember telling them, like, look at how, if you look at Outkast's entire discography, every album is very different. You know what I'm saying? It's like they evolve with every album. It's almost like a different group every time.
No, for sure.
I was like, that's how we need to approach things, you know, in that way. Like, we have to have an evolution every time that we drop a project.
And he agreed with you?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And that's why Zero Heroes was so great, because we let go of meeting an expectation. You know, it wasn't like, let's try to follow up something. I was like, let's just make an album as if it's square in the circle again.
How do you do that as a producer? Because like 2025 has been like the first year since 2009 I haven't made any beats. You know, I would consider myself a beat maker versus like somebody like yourself, you know. But it's just like, how do you find the inspiration? Because for me, like, I don't know. I don't want to just blame it like on modern hip hop or whatnot. But it's like, what do you do when you get like kind of like almost like writer's block for beats, or like beat block, they say. Like, I don't even know if you even get that, man. Like, because I kind of been in that, and like low key, like I kind of was hoping like, man, maybe this meeting would inspire me to make beats again. But I make every excuse in the book, like, I have a son now, I'm busy, I got my own business, and I make every excuse in the book not to make beats.
So I make beats every day of my life. Like, this is, I mean, like, and I've done this. This is the only thing I've ever done. Like, I've never even had a job. This is the only thing I've done since I was like in elementary school. You know what I mean? Like, I started making beats when I was in fifth grade, you know? And a lot of time I was like, actually, when I was in third, fourth, and fifth grade, I was like selling my own tapes, like, at school.
Wow.
By the time I was in sixth grade, I was selling beats for money. You know what I mean? And so I started to make money when I was in sixth grade, really, like off of beats. And so when I realized, okay, like, I can make money off this, I was like, I'm just gonna, I'll do this forever.
Yeah. How does one make money off beats? Because that was always
now I don't know anymore. But I can tell you then, but I can't tell you now because I don't know how to make money off beats.
It's like
anymore.
The type beats kind of like where I started seeing, like, it just kind of killed a lot of like producers like myself.
Beats. I mean, yeah,
make a Kid Cudi type beat.
And I got an opinion on that too. It actually it's like a blessing to me now. But
okay,
you know, like but back to like the way that I like approach music. You know, like, I mean, this is all that I've ever done, you know, and I've like allowed myself the freedom to also be able to like evolve as a producer, because my biggest fear, the whole entire world, like my life, is getting stuck on something and not being able to evolve, like a sound. I don't want to be a producer that can't evolve, you know what I mean? Like, they can't like still feel current, you know? And so
yeah, that's real.
You know what I mean? And so I learned over time how to be able to not be too close to like any kind of sound, because I've worked with so many artists that are so opposite of each other, because XV and Tech N9ne are opposites. Right. And so I'm able to develop both of their sounds at the same time, and it'd be two totally different sounds. And it let me realize that I can be anything as long as the core sound stays the same. So like with everything that I do, there's a core. And
there is a core. What would you say? Is it like the synth? Is it the sample? Like, because even the stuff you're doing with Trez, like,
it's the textures. So there's one thing that I do that other producers, like, you know, I'm not going to say other producers don't do it. Like, I mean, but it's something that is like something that I don't change about my production. And what it is the textures that I do things with my production. That's like, you know, you have like, you know, the base elements of like every beat, like what is making the beat. But I get done with the beat and then I give it textures. You know what I'm saying? And to me, the textures give it like it's personality and its character, and it's also one of the things that kind of is like just a signature thing that I do, you know. Yeah. And I realized, like, okay, I can do all of these different types of sounds, develop all of these different type of artists that are like, they have a totally different aesthetic and everything. And it can still be me as long as I keep like the core of it the same, you know, the way that I approach, like basically the steps that I go through to making a beat stays the same. But within that, as long as I keep that the same, I can do anything, you know? And
it's interesting. It's really interesting.
And I'm also not too precious with like anything really. Like I just let myself be inspired by anything. I learned that from Tech, really. You know what I mean? Because Tech is such a genre bending type of artist. You know, he'd be like, let's take from everything. You know what I mean? No matter what it is. The things me and Tech would do was insane. What
is he inspired by? Like, I mean,
Tech is a lot like me.
I hear rock. I hear you know, obviously hip hop.
Well, one of the things like about Tech, like, is like one of the reasons why I was so like compelled to like work with him, you know, when I was a kid, because I remember with Tech, I lived in Topeka.
Okay.
And there was I must have been maybe like in like 6th grade at the time, 7th grade, maybe 6th or 7th grade. Mm-hmm. My mom had a friend that did music too, and he would take me around to like different like local music events in Topeka. One of them was a talent show, I think at like the college in Topeka, and they had a special guest, an intermission, and the intermission was Nut House with Tech performing. And when I was watching, I mean, I was just a kid, you know, like, and he like leaned over and said, if you could figure out how to work with him, then you'll really be doing something.
Man.
And it was Tech. And in my mind, I was like, I got to figure out how to become his producer. You know what I mean?
That's crazy. Did you like feel it? Like, it's like those little moments, like you're like,
I did,
wow.
But there was things about Tech that was like, that I knew in my mind, like, oh, I could really bring his sound to life, you know? Because, you know, he was really, at the time, I was like, I mean, I listened to kind of like everything in terms of music, you know? I mean, I listened to lots of like, at that time, like Slipknot and Korn and Deftones, like those type of artists, which Tech is like very inspired by. And Tech's sound, like even like a dark sound like that, and a Kansas City sound, because at the time, like Tech was like still, like, I mean, he still is now, but then Don Juan was producing him, you know, from Midwest Side, QD3, but he had, to me, what was like the Kansas City like sound, you know, but he was also like inspired by like all of these like different types of like music. And I was like, oh man, this is, his mind worked the same way the mind works, you know? And so I always thought like, man, if I could ever like really create a sound for him, I know exactly what it should be, because I was like, I want to think about the production in the way that he thinks about cadences, which is how Come Gangster came alive. But yeah, that became my goal, you know, to just, I was like, I'm going to figure out how to become Tech N9ne's producer, because he's from Kansas City.
That's crazy.
And Tech N9ne, this was before Tech had, this is before like Angelic, you know what I mean? So Tech wasn't what he was, but I was like, Tech is undeniably a star. I could just see the whole thing. I'm like, he's one of the greats. He's like a legend. In the same way I thought about XV. It's like very few artists that I've thought about that in that way. And Tech and X were both like, I was like, this is serious, you know, this could really be something, you know?
So back then, like, would he just pay you by beat, or like how would that work? And like, even like back in the day, like even like Scotch Torch, where people get like 20K, like a beat and stuff like that. Like, obviously, like it kind of, I don't know, I would assume like maybe it's still like that, or maybe it died down, or how does that work now? Like,
well,
as far
not for
as
me. You know, like, with the like getting paid for production.
Yeah, like, because that was always like, when I would make beats, I never really understood the business side of like, you know, making beats. And like my mom was like, well, how are you going to make a living off this? So I started kind of DJing. I could, you know, that's easier to, in my mind at least, I could do a gig, $500. But for beats, I never really was that successful as far as the marketing and the business side. Like I probably maybe made 2K, 3K with beats, and I made a lot of beats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So like you got like when I started making money off beats, like I said, you know, I was like super young. I mean, I couldn't even drive a car. You know what I mean?
Real young.
And I met someone that was just like pivotal in my career, which was the Popper from Veteran Click in Kansas City. His brother was DJ Fresh, and Popper found me because my dad would take me to when I was in 5th and 6th grade. He would take me to Seventh Heaven in Kansas City. It was like I'm sure he hated fucking driving me there because we had to go like on truce, like in an area of town he like fucking hated taking me to, but it was the only store where I could go and get local music, you know, from. So like everybody would put their tapes of CDs like on consignment in Seventh Heaven. And I was like, I knew in 5th and 6th grade, I was like, how do I produce like artists in Kansas City? I'm like, there's a way to do it. I don't know how, but I'm just going to study the local music scene. I remember like the first time I reached out to someone was like this group called Midwest Mafia. This like CD, it was like a local CD in 7th Heaven. It was like the craziest, like I just heard, I was like, this shit is so crazy. Remember I like reached out to the number on the back of the CD, sent them like my tape, like with all my beats on it, and also like a little biography of myself.
Yeah, right.
I remember they called me and they were like, so, well, I called them and I was like, yeah, did you get, you know, the beats, you know? And they're like, yeah, and they're kind of like laughing and everything. And they're like, so they're like, this is you that made these beats? And I was like, yeah. And I probably had some kind of like super embarrassing like picture on my biography. The whole room just like burst out laughing, you know? And I was like, damn. And then their manager jumped on the phone and was like, look, they're like, this is like a real street group. Like this group is they're like, he was like, you know, from like the streets for real, you know, you can't send them beats like this, you know. That was like this Midwest Mafia only wants beats with like, has to have like low end 808s, like this shit has to hit hard, you know. And that had an effect on me because I was like, of course I was like fucking destroyed like as a kid I just got like laughed at over this group that I was like, you know, infatuated with at the time. But I was like, damn, they're right. I do need to figure out how to like make this shit like harder. You know, I need to pay attention to the way the shit like, you know, the low end. Then I was like really starting to, I mean, I'm like in 5th grade, you know what I mean? So I'm like so like young, but I'm like, okay, I need to like learn about like what 808s are and like low end and really figure out how to like do that. But that came from my dad taking me to 7th Heaven. I go there every weekend and just buy all the local like CDs and tapes. And one time I went in there and there was a flyer, an orange flyer on the way out that was like, send like your beats to this address. I went home that night, stayed up all night long and made a whole brand new like beat tape and sent it to, by this time I like knew how to fucking make my shit like, you know what I mean? Have like low end, you know what I mean? Like I'm not going to make that mistake again, you know? And I sent it to him. And at the time I was living in Wichita by this time, cause I was in middle school at Chardine Middle School. And
they shut down, by the way.
That shut down now? Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's crazy.
That's wild. So and so I sent it to DJ Fresh. I had no idea who DJ Fresh was, but his brother Popper called me. Was like, you know, these beats are crazy. And the beat by this time my beats had taken on like a Bay Area type of sound. At the time I was like listening to like, you know, JT the Bigger Figure, like Get Low records and like all like just Bay Area shit, like Mac Dre, for real, like all of that.
So you started listening to Ice Cube a little bit and stuff? I
mean, I grew up on, Ice Cube was like, you know, I was like fucking, you know, 9 years old, like listening to crazy. Like, like just feeding my brain with like America's Most Wanted. Like, it's like my dad was like, it was a problem, you know.
He's like, what is this?
Oh my God, I got Ice-T Original Gangster, the tape taken away from me 5 times. You know what I mean? I just kept buying it. My dad would just find it and be like, you know, because at the time, like that time, like body count. I don't know if you. How old are you?
I'll be 33.
Okay. So I don't know if you know about Body Count, like Cop Killer, like
Death Certificate.
Well, Death Certificate, yes, but like before that, like that's Ice Cube, but Ice-T was part of like Body Count, which was like a rock band. But they have
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, they have the song called Cop Killer, which was during like the Watts riots, and it like made the news because it was massive. They banned the fucking song from the album, you know what I mean, from the Body Count album. And
so the album was called Body Count.
Body Count was his Ice-T's rock band. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But he had the song Cop Killer, and at the time,
wow,
it was on the news. It was banned, but I was like, facts. I was a fucking fourth or fifth grader. Like, this is the most amazing shit ever, And but my dad, like everybody was like, oh my god, this is like cannot like be a part of like
crazy. This is like probably how kids feel about like 6ix9ine or Playboy Cardi.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, so it was that, but so my dad wouldn't allow me to have these kind of tapes, but it had a massive impact on me.
Man, that makes so much sense now. Like you just like being in LA and then producing for Trez and stuff. Like because like I did want to talk about Trez and stuff because it's just kind of like unbelievable, like the sound, like the bass, and like just how you're flipping the samples, like the Atomic Dog and all these. It's just crazy because as a producer, like one of the sounds I never feel like I could be able to like really do is West Coast beats. Like I never could like. You know what I mean? And so like when hearing like the stuff you do, like the bassline cavity.
Bassline cavity,
it's just like it just sounds like it has that classic.
So first and foremost, like that's my sound. Like I'm saying, like the sound of especially bassline cavity, certain particular things that we did with that album was like kind of like my roots in a way. Like that's like was my sound before everything,
Right, that bass, the synth,
that sound, like flipping a record like Atomic Dog, like that was like, I can't tell you how impactful like DJ Quick, has.
And you kept the Invoke sample in there too? Like how did
the way
is that Invoke? Who was that? Who's the sample? Is that like a female sample? It does,
yeah. So when I flipped Atomic Dog, so I actually took elements of that record for both for on Triz's album when we did Inland, and I flipped it again for TF, with TF and Rucci. So
was that the Skankless Summer?
The Skankless Summers, yeah.
So you flipped it on there too?
Yeah, but in a different way because but so when I did it with Triz, like we were really trying to like flip the Ice Cube record, In
My Summer?
Yeah. Summer Vacation. You know what I mean? On Death Certificate. And so that's why I got the Invoke. That's crazy that you noticed that, by the way. But like, but I actually, went.
Because he put that on his.
Exactly. That's why I put it in there. You know what I mean? So it could pay like homage to that record. So that's more crazy, of that record. The TF one is a totally different kind of flip. Actually, when TF asked me to flip it, I wanted to tell him like no, because I knew like that record is like so overly sampled. Like I didn't want to do it. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to be like, no, let's not do that one. But
it's like Jump. It's sampled on Jump, right? The Atomic Dog. No, that's the Billy Beck. The Ohio Players. Funky Warm.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually like a bunch of different records, but I mean, Atomic Dog is like, bro, like that's on a lot of records. You don't even know it because it's like the record Atomic Dog has so many pieces and it's such a long song with so many blips and like it's almost like one big long like jam session. Really? And that record has so many pieces that you can take to build shit with,
Don't you have the stems for one of these tracks?
I have the Atomic Dog stems.
How did you? Is this like? How did you get the stems? That's like some XV like.
Nah, a DJ gave me the Atomic Dog stems. I don't even know if I'm supposed to have them, but I have them. And so that gives me the fucking power. You know what I mean? Because I can do everything. So when I did the TF,
is it legal?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I've dealt with my fucking fair share of like lawsuits over samples too. That actually is a part of my career. Also,
can we talk about that? Because I've always been scared about. That's another thing. I mean, another excuse I would use to stop making beats. Like, I could get fined.
I could tell you. Yeah. I mean, I had a couple samples like destroy my life for real. You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, Tech N9ne samples. I actually got sued twice in 1 week on a Monday and a Friday with 2 different samples.
What?
Yeah.
The Tech N9ne samples?
Mm-hmm, like from 2 different albums. Yeah.
Which tracks?
So it was a Bill Withers sample that I got hit with, and then a KOD on the KOD album. Actually, the KOD song is a sample too. I don't know how much I can like talk about it. I don't know the details of it, but I knew that like when all that came out, it was like my responsibility, you know what I mean? So it kind of, it affected me because it kind of, it held my money up for like a while, you know what I mean? I wasn't able to get like royalties and stuff like that. And so I had like a few years where, I had to kind of like recover from the lawsuits of that. And it's before I signed Estranged though too, that. But coming out of that, what happened for me was I kind of had these years of rebuilding because I was like, what I want at the time, sampling was a big part of my sound. You know what I mean? One thing I was going to tell you too, because like a producer in Kansas City taught me how to sample. His name is SG, and he was actually Popper's producer. Went back to the story about Popper and DJ Fresh finding me like a seventh heaven. When they called me, they were like, and I'll go back to the samples here in a second, but you gotta just you're jumping around, so you gotta tell me. You know, I need to focus.
It, I'm following it, bro.
So
it's interesting because it's like how you produce too.
Yeah, like all of these things have become what I am now.
How your mind works is also how the beat works.
So I'm gonna get to the samples, but like at the time when Popper called me, he was like, these beats are like, like he liked the beats a lot. And he asked me to come to Kansas City. And my mom would like drive me to Kansas City, like take me to his house, take me to like the community centers, like all these different places, just drive me around and like let me work like, like really like all around, like around, like just in areas that she probably didn't want to take me to, you know what I mean?
Sure,
but like, it was what it was, and Popper was like a really like good person, you know what I mean? Like I said, he's pivotal in my career because he saw something in me, and he was like, he was the one that was like, I'm going to show you how to make money off of beats. You know what I mean? He was like, basically like, he like connected me with everyone else that was like really doing something in Kansas City, locally. Sure. And put me in a position where I could like make money at a really young age, and I can never thank him and his, him and DJ Fresh like enough for what they did for me, because that was actually how I met Tech too, so because they were working on a project called 50 MCs. And it was like just 12 of the biggest producers, like local producers in Kansas City at the time, and I was one of them, and the song that I actually produced on that, it was a compilation album where they brought together 50 MCs literally from Kansas City and put them all on one big compilation album called 50 MCs. And if you really want to know like the history of like me and my, like, I don't know, what's happened with my career, 50 MCs was like the beginning of it, because on that, I ended up producing the song that was the song that Tech was on. And that's how I met Tech. So,
you remember that song?
Yeah, it's called Ready for the Meat Wagon.
Oh, okay. The Meat Wagon. I remember. That's a track title you don't forget.
It was, and the sound of it. Like when I made that beat, I didn't make it for Tech, but Popper.
It's like a Brother Lynch kind of title song.
Well, that one was that one that you're thinking of actually had Vel Bacardi on it, which was another really big artist from Kansas City. And that song was called My Kind of Company, and that did have a Brother Lynch Hung type of sound at the time. Like Brother Lynch Hung was like a god to me, because Loaded had come out, and I was like, oh my god, I wonder if one day I'll ever like be able to be in the presence of Brother Lynch Hung. You know what I mean? Like fucking 1995. Like,
is he still with Strange, Brother Lynch?
He's not, now. So, but I like at the time, like when I was a kid, like that album, like Loaded, was like.
So, what, if you don't mind, even as going back, and I know we're kind of going from here and there, but I appreciate you answering all these questions. But like, what like happened? Like, because you left in 2021 from Strange.
2020, yeah.
2020. Was it just because of? Was it like the lawsuits with the samples?
No, so the lawsuits, when that happened with the lawsuits, is when I went through that recovery year. That was before I signed Estranged. What I did was I was like, man, samples are a huge part of my sound. I have got to figure out a way to like basically make my own samples. I was like, I want to have my beats sound the same, but they have to feel like samples, but not be samples. So I started like learning how to like work with lots of live musicians, and then like figured out how to make this sound like a sample. I would literally have musicians come over to the studio and play parts, and I would just like sample. I would like create a song like with the musicians and then sample the song for a beat. So a 2-stage process, because I'm like, this is how I can like make you swear it's a sample, but it's not, which is now I can have my shit sound like it's all samples, but it's not a sample. We're totally clear. It's all original. So I learned how to do that really well after going through those lawsuits. Cause like with Strange, I'm like, at this point, I had done so many albums with Tech. I mean, we were on KOD by that point. So it was like 2009, 2010. I mean, this is 5 years of us with a certain type of sound. I'm like, I don't want to change the sound. I just need to figure the fuck out how I can like make my own samples. You know what I mean? And so, so that's what I did, you know, and that became like something that I kind of like mastered. You know what I mean? It was like making something you would swear is a sample, but it's not.
Is there any XV tracks that are like samples, but they're not?
God, so many. Yeah, I mean,
like on Kid, like the strap back dad hat, or those like
Kid with the strap back dad hat.
The dude with the strap back.
You know that album,
like IKEA, is that a sample or is that like a re?
I can't even remember. You know, we had Dreamers on there, which is a sample. You know, like Kid with the green backpack. I mean, not Kid. I'm sorry, Dad with the strap back hat. You know, that album was made when me and him just started talking again, because we didn't talk for years. Well, because when the thing happened with Warner Brothers, like he was on tour and we were in the middle of a tour. We were in New York and we're getting ready to do a show. And I was like, I'm going home. He's like, you're just going to go home in the middle of the tour? And I was like, I'm just going to go home. And I just went home. And that was one of the last times I ever talked to him. You know what I mean? And we just, for years, like he never called me. It was like an unspoken thing. Years went by. Years for real went by. I signed to Strange. Obviously, there was this like massive kind of thing between us. You know what I mean? But all it took was a phone. It would have.
Isn't that crazy?
If one of us just would have called and like, hey, what's going on right now? It would have fixed the whole fucking thing, you know, but we just had too much pride. You know what I mean?
Do you think like if that would have happened, like if you never would have left, you guys would have been...
I think that if I wouldn't have left, the scope of both of our lives would be totally different. But and we've had this conversation. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm talking to him and I'm like, bro, we could have done this, and this if we just hadn't done that. And but we always just say to each other, like, you know, it happened for a reason. Because like there's certain things that we do now. Now we're much older. You know what I mean? Now we've like grown so much. We've both went through so many things, you know. We're able, we both to say to each other like that there's certain things that are happening now that couldn't have happened if that didn't happen. Because you know, true. I remember that must have been like 2015, you know, we talked again for the first time. It was like very slowly, kind of like,
because what year was it when you said I'm just going to go home from the tour? Was that 2011?
Yeah, 2011, 2010, and 2010, 2011. That was it. You know, it was like when Zero Heroes came out. I was like, you know, in my mind, I was like just done. You know what I mean? And so, in 2011, that was that year. I was when I was like, I'm just gonna I move more towards strange music. So, but in 2015, we talked again, and we're like, let's slowly, I don't know, see what happens, you know. And we did. We worked on my involvement with Strapback Dad House. Very like. Not involved, you know. I just kind of like had some beats and used them, and I wasn't involved, you know. Then we did those like the seeds and the roots in the soil, and that was like
that reboot track. That was that never even got made on any of them.
No, those are all just like practice. It was like almost like us going through the way that it felt when we worked on Complex and Complex Experiment, you know? Yeah. It was like us going through that cycle again.
Why didn't those ever like get like surfaced on there? Because that's what me and X did the Water project. But why didn't they ever kind of like see the light? Like they were on streaming projects and whatnot, like been dreaming, but it just seemed like there was about to, when I would speak with XV, it seemed like almost like there was going to be like
we were going to do an album. It was going to be Garden.
Yeah, Garden, yeah.
Yeah, it was going to be that album. But, you know, the songs weren't good enough. You know, we started like, we were working on them, and I think they're good songs, but it was our warm up. It just wasn't like it wasn't us yet. We needed like a couple years to like.
And you did all those tracks on the Seeds, Roots, and all those.
I think so.
The Black Squares.
I did, yeah, those three, all of those.
The club, Don't Stop.
Yep, all of that. Yeah, but it wasn't us working like how we used to work, because the way we used to work was like, sometimes I'll have a full idea. I'll be like, this is the song title, this is the cadence that you need to rap in, this is I would have the whole entire vision, you know, for songs before, because we were so locked in, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then sometimes he would give me an idea and say like just very little words, and I would know exactly what it needs to be. It wasn't like
it was very collaborative.
Well, yeah, everything we did was so collaborative.
Now this was just like sending beats.
This was like a beat, and he rapped on it, which is not. I mean, you know, that's not collaborative. You know, yeah. So it took us a while to figure out. What are we like? What are we doing? You know what I mean? And so that was like our practice. You know, we thought it was going to be an album, but what happened was, in the midst of all of that, we made Karan Butler.
Oh yeah.
And when that happened, I was like, you know, something has happened now. You know what I mean? We're back.
What was that sample? Because Ludacris sampled that. I can't remember.
Oh, for real?
Yes, I was trying to find that track because I've actually have a beat with that sample.
Okay, yeah, I don't know.
I don't remember the name.
I can't even remember where I got it from, but like
it's very like unique sounding.
Yeah, I tried to get really creative with it, because I have like the parts in Karan Butler that sort of like evolve into other, you know, sections of the sample and stuff.
But you guys found Karan Butler after making the seeds and the roots.
Yeah. I mean, we did the Winter Wolves project. It's kind of like,
yeah, I like that one.
I didn't.
Yeah, he did. Was that your idea? Was that his idea?
No, we were working on a project for someone else, and that was kind of like someone was wanting to, like, you know, just executive produce an album with us, you know, and have both of us involved.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, I almost hate saying that I didn't like it, but I didn't like it. You know, like I didn't like that sound. But one thing that we were trying to aim for was we were going to do an album and put it out in what's it called? Adobe Atmos. This is when Atmos mixes were starting to become a thing. You know, do you know what Atmos mixes are?
AI?
It's like surround sound, you know, mixes.
Okay,
you know, it was starting to become like a big thing. And so we were going to do that album. So we were approaching it in this way that's like, this is going to sound crazy in surround sound, in Atmos, you know?
Okay. It's like a movie. Like,
yeah, but I was like, this is not like our sound.
Yeah, I almost forgot about Winter Wolves.
What we're doing, you know? And then we did that. We did the seeds, the soil, roots, and then...
So Winter Wolves was before seeds?
I can't remember. Maybe all at the same time.
Yeah. But it's just like we haven't found that spark yet. It sounds like
it wasn't what it was. And then
blog era.
There was times when I thought it was what it was. Like when we were working on seeds, roots, soil, we would do certain songs. I'm like year 2 and all of this. I'm like, you know,
I mean, there's some nice.
Like, I think we're there.
Change was hard.
Yeah. But I was like nope. I bet it still didn't feel like
Middle of the Madness. Like, you know.
I'm telling you, like I thought so too, but it wasn't though. You know, it kind of was, but it just wasn't. And when we made Karan Butler, it was. I was like,
because he said sometimes you'll make the beat like around like other beats, or like you just maybe that's the texture. And
whatnot. So when we did, that's right. That's what happened. That's exactly what happened. So seeds, soil, and roots was like
he was rapping on other beats,
and instead of I'll make a whole new beat to it, you know, and just kind of like build around what he did, which was good for me because it was like an exercise in me, like kind of like learning how to produce him again, because we hadn't worked together for so long. So this was like a way for me to figure out how to produce him, because I had lost how to produce him.
Right, it's been such a long time. It's like 7 years.
Yeah, you know, so
even more than that maybe, you know.
Yeah, but when Karan Butler happened, I was like, oh. Now I know how to produce you again.
And that's when the blog era came about.
Yep.
What's your favorite 2 tracks on blog era?
My favorite track on
or
blog
like
era?
Some of your favorite ones, yeah. Was it Keep Your Grin Up?
Nah, that's his favorite track. That's
his favorite track. Yeah, it's like Kanye kind of vibe.
We did that one at the end, and when we did that, we were like, "Oh."
And you're on there speaking to your son at one of them, right?
Oh,
was that your son?
Yep. When that was on Treasure Chest, yeah, which is like the very last thing we added on the album. Yeah. But Blog Era, you know, Blog Era is dead. I'm gonna tell you, my favorite song on that is let me load it up. Maybe for anybody. Hold on, let me look here.
That's the one with Toby.
No, my favorite track is Grand Budapest Hotel.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's my favorite song. And also for anybody, but
yeah, okay.
Grand Budapest Hotel is my first song.
I like the one with Kersey. The one with Kersey, the
periodic tables. Oh yeah. Cool, so yep, that was one where, like, you know, when we worked on that one.
Was that before Bento Box?
Yep. Yeah, that's when I was working on Bento Box at the same time. Yeah, you know, and when we did periodic tables, that was one where, like, I told him how to I hummed the melody. I was like, just do it like this, just sing it. Because he was like, I'm not comfortable with singing. I was like, you should sing. And one of the things I was heavy on when we did Bloggers, and I was like, what's so important when we make this album, not only just that it's melodic, but also that he shows a vulnerable side to him. Because I'm like, at this time, so much time has went by and so much things have happened even with us. People don't know what happened. There's a mystery. I was like, why don't we tell the story of what happened with this album? That way we can I like that. Close that chapter and just be done with it. People will know. That's why if you listen to July 26th, he touches on everything that happened between pretty much like that last time when I left the tour. Up until now, you know what I mean? Like, that's the story of that.
Yeah, even the shared trauma, even like him and Kashia.
So that was a hard song to make. That was like, he didn't want to make that. I didn't think we were going to make that song. Like, because when I made that, I said it to him, I'm like, this is what the song should be about. Like that, what he wrote it about.
The miscarriages.
And he didn't, I was like, I could tell he didn't want to expose that, and I'm like, you should. No, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, you're the way that you write, the way that you make songs, people connect to you. You know what I mean? Like, you're the kind of artist that people connect to. And it would mean so much for you to expose the most vulnerable side of yourself, in a song.
And then we're aging, we're getting older.
Exactly. I'm like, if you want to show your now adult fan base, you know what I'm saying? Like, give them something, like a piece of you that lets you know, lets them know that what you've been through, that would mean a lot.
No, for sure. I think so, man. I know I have a few more questions before we get going, man, but I do want to talk about Trez, man, because I really like the sound, like the West Coast, and then as a producer, a former producer, whatever I can call myself, but how do you get these heavy basses with the kick, and then there'd be an 808? Are these side chain? Is it are you doing an analog? How? Yeah, I don't even know how to get analog sound into into a FL or a Pro Tools. I just thought people recorded with a mic and put it by the thing, but it's through the 1/4 chords or whatnot.
Quarter. So the
But just the bass, just the sound of what you doing with the bassline cabbie stuff.
Yeah, when I left Strange, I moved to LA, and I was completely free from anything and everything at that time. I could. It was a moment where I'm like, all right, if you want to evolve yourself again. You know what I mean?
Rebirth.
Yeah, rebirth.
This is, and he found Trez just.
This is this is a chance for a rebirth, and you can make any kind of sound you want to make in the world. You can work with any kind of artist you want to work with. You can be inspired by whatever you want to be, whatever you're inspired by. I'm like, all right, one thing that's kind of like if you listen to anything I've done with Tech or anything I've done with X, you'll hear the West Coast in it if you really listen to it. You know what I mean? And so, because that's been my sound since the beginning of time. But I'm like, I wonder if there's a way, when I was in LA, I'm like, I wonder if there's a way for me to evolve a West Coast sound. You know what I mean? Actually take that, but even do something more with it, and of course I'm in LA, so I can be truly inspired by the city. But I'm a firm believer as a producer that I'm not a producer that believes in number one, I'm not like a BeatStars type beat producer. I've stayed away from doing that. It's something that
why do you feel like it is? Because I always didn't like that idea either. Even though I did make attempts in the past. It's quick money. It's fast food production.
I mean, it's a blessing and a curse. It's a curse because obviously, it's for me, I'm a producer that could get $5,000 for a beat, you know what I mean? And these kinds of things made that not justifiable anymore, you know what I mean? And which is okay. But the gift of it is now producers that don't do that, you know what I mean, are actually kind of special, you know what I'm saying? So it allowed me to be I was never a producer that did that. I'm the kind of producer that you're going to like sit down, work with, we're going to actually dig into who you are, everything that you are, and develop something very special for you. You know what I mean? Something that can't be like replicated. We're going to make the kind of thing that type beats get made for. You know what I mean? Like I want to be the producer.
Be a 7 type
yeah,
beat,
I want, you know what I'm saying? I want to be the producer that there's the Mike Summers type beats, you know what I'm saying? For, you know what I mean? And I can't be that if I'm making Drake type beats, you know what I'm saying?
What would you tell like producers who are like young, who are maybe listening and they're trying to just do type beats and they want to be more like kind of like how you're doing? I
would say making type beats is important, because when I was becoming a producer, like learning how to make beats, like the way that I became a good producer was by like replicating other beats, like sitting down and listening to a Timbaland beat and copying it. You know?
Just trying to figure
out.
Like
because that made me be like, oh, I see how Timbaland's mind works. I see how Dre's mind works. I see how, I start to like when you reverse engineer someone else's beat, you start to understand how their mind works.
No, for sure.
Like, oh, I see.
It's literally just like how they do with like technology.
Exactly. So I'm like, now I see like, now that I can like make a Timbaland beat, that you would swear is a Timbaland beat, I can take the thing that's special about the Timbaland beat that, and make it my own. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, all these producers, because there's certain producers that have a big impact on who I am, DJ Quick, Dr. Dre, Timbaland, without it, undoubtedly, in terms of creativity.
Like Bomb Squad, all those older.
Yeah, Bomb Squad too, but, Bomb Squad was when I was so young, but like, I would say like Dre, Quick.
Because I forget DJ Quick produces his own beats.
Yeah, I mean, Quick, like, Quick, the reason why I use live instruments and beats is because of Quick. You know what I'm saying? Like, Quick is the name when that came out.
Wow.
1991 was the year that, like, changed everything for me. You know what I mean? Like, 1991 was the year that I was like, okay, I'm doing this for the rest of my life. I was 10 years old, like, listening to, there's so many albums came out in 1991. You know what I mean? So, that's when Death Certificate came out, too.
Quick does all of his production?
Oh yeah, even engineering, everything. DJ Quick is like,
wow.
He's like who for a long time. That's who I like. He's like,
no, for sure,
my idol. That's what I aspire to be like. You know what I mean? So that's what that's what.
Have you met him before?
I have. Yeah.
That's crazy. What was that like?
Like a situation I wish I could have done like differently at the first time that I met him. Yeah,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Has he heard anything you done with like the West Coast sound with the Trez?
I think so. Yeah, like a lot of people that I work with, Trez, like, everybody I work like works with him. I don't like directly like work like with him like now, but everybody I work with now like works with him. It's like the same circle, but yeah, so one thing was when I moved to LA, I was able to take kind of everything that made me like love music production in the first place and just be like, all right, let me magnify this. I'm one thing I was going to say is I'm also a producer that like, I believe the way for, another thing for young producers is like, I'm not a producer that's like, I'm not just making beats and like trying to get placements. I'm not like sending them out and be like, boom, boom, let me see if I can get a placement. You know what I mean? I believe the way for me, maybe this doesn't work for everyone else, but for me, I believe the way is to find an artist, attach yourself to them, develop something special, and as they rise, you rise. You know what I'm saying? Like you become a part of what they are. Which is, if you look at my career, that's all I've ever done. Tech, X, Triz. Like I believe in being like, okay, this is an artist that I can offer something to, like something that I can truly like.
You're building them.
Yeah, like because if it's an artist that like I don't offer anything, like I can't, help. I have to be honest with myself sometimes too. I'm like, I can't offer anything to this artist.
And I think it's dope too because you play instruments. Right?
Yeah,
you play the bass, and like that's another thing too. One of the reasons I stopped making beats because I can play like chords and whatnot, but I don't know how to play any instruments. So I got tired of the 808. I got tired of the bass lines and whatnot. I was like, I want to be able to learn how to play like bass and have more of like like a natural organic sound and feel like how you did like on Ben Dreamin' or whatnot.
It brings life to it. And don't get me wrong, because
I'm so tired of. I like the 808, but I want to be able to add more colors, like literally like the song, and like I feel like I'm only can use the same.
Yeah, since
coloring pack with the VSTs and.
So I watched DJ Quick produce, studied it so much, and saw the way that he brings in like musicians that he can teach like how to be the sound of his production. You know what I mean? And so I've always been really good at like identifying musicians. Like musicians and engineers are like almost more important than the artist and the producer to the process of music production. To me, that at least the way that I hold them like on that pedestal. You know what I mean? Like a guitarist and an engineer, you know, the people that don't get the shine, you know, to me are like the most important pieces. You know what I mean?
Why would you say?
You said, why would I say?
Yeah. The guitarist and
because that's what makes you different. You know what I'm saying? Because involving a musician is involving a counterpart to your mind, and it's what like gives my production life. You know what I mean? So I listen to how DJ Quick did it, and I'm like, the way that he approaches production, I'm like, these songs feel like alive to me. You know what I mean? He's like truly like approaching this like a jazz musician's like mind state. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that's how I want my song. I want my songs to feel like alive, you know? And I want that texture. I want to actually hear like a guitar, you know? I want to not just a guitar, but like that's why when I do guitars, like I make sure that like all of the fret sounds, everything that I actually turn that up, you know what I'm saying? Because I want you to feel. That's another thing too, like imperfections in production is my thing. You know what I mean?
I think that's going to be bigger now if we have all this like AI crap, man. Like,
well, that's I look at things like that too. I'm like, AI is absolutely 100% going to take over. You know what I mean? But it's just going to make.
It makes me. Oh man, oh my.
No. It's what is going to.
I'm trying to look at this, find the good.
Yeah, it's all good because it's going to make producers that actually really produce stand out more. It's going to up the value. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of things like the things I do can't be done with AI because the way that I get like my performance out of a guitarist. Guitarists will come into the studio and set up and they want to warm up, right? So they know we're going to work on something, but like they want to warm up, tune up, kind of like just get comfortable with the scenario. I mean, the situation, you know, before we even work on the song. So I might turn on the session and have them like kind of play while they're tuning and working. And they get done and they're like, okay, I'm ready to record. I'm like, we're done. Because everything that you just played just now is what I'm going to use. Like I messed up all the time. I'm like, that's what I want. I want the imperfections. The imperfections is the life. Once you polish something and give it, you know, and you perfect it, you bring it into this world, but it's so perfect, it loses the life. You know what I'm saying? Wow. Like you listen to like records, the most classic music, like a Beatles record, like these Jimi Hendrix records, these albums are so imperfect. They keep the imperfections. That's the life and the character and the personality. It's what makes it what it is. So I approach things in that way. I mean, I watch Quick do that. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, that's something that I learned, you know, from that. And
this is so big though, what you just said, like the imperfections
I keep
life.
It.
Like that's like just not just with music, but like with so much, man. Like that's just it's huge with that statement. Like honestly, because then it's like you see so many people who are so afraid to get started with something because they don't want to make the imperfections. But then like even like when you look at some of like your biggest tracks were maybe not all of them, but like kind of throwaways in a way. It's just like we didn't
it's the guitar 100%. When I use musicians on tracks, it's always what they didn't want to use, but I know that the imperfection is what it's like when I record an artist, you know, and they perform something in a certain kind of way, but they mess up. Yeah, I'd rather the performance with the right emotion and the mess up rather than the perfected
because it sounds
manufactured.
Like it sounds scripted.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I want the one that people are going to feel. So I keep the mess up. You know what I mean? Like I always keep the mess ups because that's what makes you feel it. That's what makes you be like, I mean, life is imperfect. We live every day and our lives are not perfect. So we're naturally going to connect to things that are imperfect. You know what I mean? Things that are perfect don't we don't
not real
emotionally connect to that.
We'll start seeing this more. Like like we don't like that's why even like with podcasts, like, you know, you see like even like with the election, like I'm not into politics, but they said, you know, people, you know, favor different, whatever it might be, not even just politics, but conversations, like real unfiltered Joe Rogan kind of style.
Everything, you know,
versus like going to CNN.
Yeah, that's why, you know,
it's crazy, man.
It just makes, it's just like when you look at life, you know, when you look at relationships with people and like the reason that people are connected to other people, you know, it's not because of manufactured things, you know, it's because a person has let you in to them on some kind of level that, you know, that they didn't allow someone else to experience, you know, crazy, a personal, man. Imperfect level. When you understand someone's vulnerabilities and their imperfections, that's when you really feel like you're connected with them, you know. And I just treat music the same way, you know what I mean?
That's big. That's inspiring. That just gave me a whole lot of, you know, ideas. Like, it's like now I'm like sampling like differently, like just like with the job that I do now, you know. And so it's like that's just really interesting, like what you just said, like the imperfection, because it's like how you said it, you know. It's crazy, man. But I really appreciate you coming on the show there, Seven, man. Like, I really appreciate you coming to the show. I know we could have probably another hour, man. Like, I can if you want me to touch on the Triz. But yeah, man, I really appreciate you coming on the show, man. It's just been awesome to be able to do this and to be able to hear and be inspired. But if there's anything like ways how people can get in touch with you, like even if people want to get a beat, like, I don't know. Yeah, just, I mean, to me, like the best, I like my Instagram, like I use my Instagram, you know what I mean? Yeah, so if you just shoot me a DM, it's Mike Summers, all caps. A lot of most of my handles are Mike Summers, all caps. Right. So, you just hit the best way to get in contact with me is just through Instagram. Instagram. That's the best way. I'm definitely, you know, I check my messages regularly. I respond to, you know, if you're serious, you like hit me with like a actual serious for real message, you know, not like a let's work type of message, then, you know, I'll probably respond to you. There you go, man. So I appreciate you guys tuning in to another episode of the podcast, man. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe, and go follow Mike Summers. Check out some of the beats, Apple Music, pretty much anywhere where you can find streaming music platforms, man. So this has been another episode. You guys take care. Peace. All right, man. I appreciate it there, Mike. Man, okay, definitely, man. Definitely, bro. Fully connected.